Welcome back to America's Retirement Headquarters, home of the Retirement Guys formula and America's Medicare Associates with Nolan Baker and Dave Ross. ARHQ.com is the website. You want to find out more about the guys, set up a time to speak with them. That's the website, ARHQ.com. You can also give a call, 419-794-3030. After cutting interest rates by a half point, the Fed is expected to cut again at its meeting next month. Here's former Atlanta Fed President Dennis Lockhart on CNBC.
I think they've shifted from fighting inflation and being a little bit nervous about the employment situation to really protective mode. And the 50 basis point move, I think, was maybe just a little bit of a catch up from July and sort of a down payment for the beginning of this protective mode.
So speaking of protective mode, should retirement savers portfolios be in protective mode as well with possible future market fluctuations on the way?
I think that a lot of that depends on where each person as an investor really is. So in my case, I've been investing for a long time. And as far as do I have thoughts that I should be putting my money in protective mode, I would say no, because I still feel like given the nature of Fed interest rate cuts, what that does to the market, combined with the historical performance of markets during a presidential election cycle, I think there's a lot of reason to be optimistic. But should a client be concerned with having what I would call circuit breakers on their portfolio? I do feel that makes a lot of sense. A circuit breaker operates that when certain indicators start to show drop, and I know unemployment is one of those indicators, inflation is an indicator. Those are the two major ones. If those numbers start to drop, then you will see portfolios with circuit breakers start to kick in and try to be ahead of a potential market loss in the event that the market gets jittery or we have a major correction. Are we in line for a correction? Yeah, we very well could be, because the last 2 years have been really, really good. But like I said, with cuts in interest rates on the horizon or continuing, and the fact that we're going to have a little more certainty in a month about who's running our government and what types of steps they're going to take politically, I think certainty is always good for financial markets. And so with that being said, protective mode comes, in my view, comes down to what each individual client feels about their current situation.
Yeah, I think a lot of that does come back into the phase of where you're at with the thousands of people who go and watch our YouTube channel. I know a large audience of that is people in their 30s, 40s, and 50s. And for those folks that are saving and investing in their retirement accounts, what happens next year or in the short term with the market fluctuations really has little to no impact on the long-term success of their plan. They want to be careful about trying to time the market, whereas I had a gentleman that had come into the office. What we did is we did the retirement team action plan, and on the M section of it, which is money management, we ran a stress test on his portfolio, and we measure risk in a portfolio from 0 to 100. And he had a risk level of 78, retired 2 years ago. So in the last 2 years, he's experienced great growth in his portfolio since he's retired. He's taking pretty substantial withdrawals from his retirement account to fund his lifestyle, which he should. You should enjoy the fruits of your labor. But when you look at the withdrawal rate that he's taking and the fact that he has an all-equity portfolio, in his particular situation, the concern that I would have would be a sequence of return risk, meaning that, I'll give my outlook about the markets, Dave can, and our investment committee will, but the markets don't really care what our opinion is. The markets are going to do something, and it only takes a catastrophic or unexpected event to have the markets turn in a big hurry. And so markets can go down, and that's where you get a lot of the dangerous market fluctuations, especially for a retiree taking money off of their portfolio. In looking at history as a guideline, what we'd also have to do is take a look at the impact of what rate cuts kind of really can mean historically. I think, Dave, you pointed out pretty well, when the Fed is just acting in normal market conditions, which is kind of what we are now, they're saying, hey, we feel that we've got inflation more under control. We feel comfortable beginning to kind of slowly lower these rates to help create what's called this soft landing. That's different than maybe what we experience when interest rates are dropped dramatically during some economic crises that we've had in the past. So when you saw the dot-com crash of 2000 or the financial crisis of 2008, or even the response that we had of COVID in 2020 with rates coming down, again, it's a different environment than what we're currently in. And I'm not saying that something unexpected can't happen. That's why it's called unexpected. Markets can have a positive reaction, and the reason being is it's going to be lower borrowing cost. My interest rate that I get on my money market account is coming down. It's below 5%. So at some point, it might be more attractive to deploy that capital back to, equities as an example. Corporations can improve their profitability because their borrowing costs are lower. And it's going to help stimulate economic growth. So those rate cuts can actually be a positive thing. The most important thing here is, again, to know what your risk level is, to know what you want to accomplish with your goals, and to stress test your plan to make sure that it lines up to exactly what you want to do. That's what you should do when you're thinking about, do you be more protective in this environment today?
As it is right now, football season, I think a lot of things that we all like to see as fans of varying teams is, in that fourth quarter, having a substantial lead over your opponent, but then being able to go into that victory formation, that protective mode. And that's the same sort of thing that you kind of want to do as you get closer and closer to retirement. Hopefully, you've been able to reap the benefits of a very well-performing market these past few years. But as you get closer and closer, being a little bit more defensive-minded, not saying you take all the chips off the table. Maybe you do, depending on your risk tolerance and your comfort level. But finding that right blend, starting to switch into a little bit of protection because, as we know, the market's being fickle. We don't want a downturn to really jeopardize the overall quality of your retirement. Finding out how it's going to work for you, it's what the team at the Retirement Guys Formula and America's Medicare Associates can do for you. To get started with them, go to the website, arhq.com, or set up a time to speak with them by giving a call, 419-794-3030.